Welcome to Post Game Podcast. I'm your host, June. I got my boy B Foster. Before we get into this week's Pistons Weekly show, I want to remind everyone to please subscribe to Bleachers Speakers on YouTube and follow us on all the aggregators for your audio fix. Just follow us at Post Game Podcast, FFSN. Put that in your search. Make sure you have that notification bell on. Make sure you're following us so when we drop content, you'll get an alert and download those episodes. Foss, we've had a week of Pistons basketball, and for some odd reason, it seemed like we haven't been here for a while, but we was just here last week. No, we had the live show.
Yes.
That's why it seems so long, but we had the live show, but we've had a different kind of week this week in Pistons basketball, and a week like no other. Like, I don't know, man. When was the fight?
So the fight was Was it Friday night?
It might have been.
No.
No. It had to be after Saturday's show.
Right. Okay. So it was Sunday afternoon, evening, whenever the game was.
Okay.
Because we talked about it on Monday. That's what it was. We talked about it at the Monday show.
Yeah. So what happened was, if you haven't been paying attention to Pistons basketball, there was a fight versus the Timberwolves where 3 Pistons got ejected, those being Isaiah Stewart, Sasser, and Ron Holland, right? So needless to say, in that game, we were already down, no Tobias, no Cade. So in Minnesota, I mean, we was putting belt to ass before that, like on the scoreboard for real. Like it looked like we were just the better team without Cade and Tobias. Then the brawl happened. They made their run. They wound up winning by 14. So the next game, you don't have Stu. You don't have Sasser. You don't have Holland. And that next game was versus who, Foster? OKC. Now, mind you, Cade didn't play. I don't think Tobias played either.
No.
So versus OKC, you're down 5 people against the best team in the league.
Not Ivy too?
No, I mean, no Ivy. Against the best team in the league, but the Pistons played ball. They were in it until the end. They had their leads. OKC had their leads, but in the fourth quarter, they dwindled that lead down to about, I think it was 4 at one point.
Got close.
Got really close. And the effort was there. They just didn't have enough firepower. The turnovers surmounted. Just so many mistakes to where you can't make those many mistakes with OKC. You can't make that many mistakes and not have and be down 5 people. You just can't. They are too good. They're too talented. It's just a recipe for disaster if you're going to turn the ball over and be undermanned, because you need all hands on deck for OKC. So you lose that game. Still stuck on 42 wins. And it's like, oh my gosh. Then last night happens. And you play Toronto. Now, even with no Stewart, everybody's back, but you still no Cade, no Tobias. I know in my heart of hearts that this should be a relatively easy game. They didn't have Scotty Barnes. There was a couple other people that didn't play for them. And I figured it would be easy, but it wasn't such an easy game. I realized last night, but he did prove me wrong though later on in the game. But Schroeder doesn't go left. It's so bad that he's forcing himself to go right when they're sitting on that right hand. And they're taking the ball from him. Now, late in the fourth quarter, they tried to force him right, and he went left and got to the rack. And I was like, that's all you have to do. That's it. Just get around him with your left. You ain't got to go all the way. You can go back to your right. Just that one play on the sideline where he just kept trying to go right, kept trying to undo, was like dude wasn't budging, and you had the sideline as a defender as well, and you turn the ball over, and then you get the ball back, and he takes it from you again, and then he does it again a few plays later. Like you inbox me and said we really miss Cade. This the part of the game because I think we were up. I want to say it was 21. They cut the lead to 6.
This was their championship for sure. Because who was it on the bench? Damn, one of their bench players, but they was going crazy like they was playing for a spot in the play-in or something. They was going so hard.
That boy Sneed, that boy was going crazy. The little point guard out of Alabama. And I remember him. I mean Houston. I'm sorry. It was Houston. It was Houston. My bad. I remember him as a senior in the tournament, and Houston was the number 1 team in the country, and he got hurt in the first half and did not return. And Houston still almost won it, but he was the leading scorer for that team. He was the leader of that team, and I knew he's one of the few pure point guards in the country, and he's gonna be good, Foster.
Yeah,
he's gonna be good.
I got a chance to watch him play when they played in Detroit. This was a game that Cade didn't play. This was the buzzer beater shot for Jaden Ivey. This is early in the year.
Okay.
And defensively, I don't think offensively he had a very good game, but he was pesky.
You call him a bulldog.
He's not but 5'11".
Yeah,
but
he's a bulldog.
But he's solid. And
what's up with these little stubby, chunky point guards like Marcus Smart and Sneed that have their way? There was another guard from somewhere else that was doing that too. I forgot who he was.
Utah? You talking about Collier?
No, it was somebody else, Foster. It was another team, and he was off the bench, and he was just a bulldozer, a little small guard. I can't remember which team it was. And I'm gonna do my research and find out who we're talking about. But he got in the game, and he was a little short guard that was just stocky and just having his way, and we had problems with. But I digress. Anyway, last night was a little bit more of a challenge that I like to see, but I have to consider no Tobias, no Cade, no Stewart.
No Stewart. Yeah.
Now you're willing to bet. You said this, that Cade's gonna play tonight.
So he was questionable last night, which we know is about 50-50, 60%.
But you don't play Cade versus Toronto on a back. I mean,
there shouldn't be. See, here's the thing. They're definitely playing it cautious. I think that if push came to the shove and we had something to play for,
right?
Which we still got it. Until last night we hadn't clinched it, but if we had more to play for, I think that Cade would definitely have suited up. I think Tobias, with him being one of the older guys on the team and them having to get him ready for the playoff run, I think his him sitting has been precautionary because he didn't start sitting games until Cade got hurt. So
they're
they know that they're in a pretty good position, whether they're in the 6th spot or if they win despite these guys sitting out, it is what it is. But other than that, they're sitting pretty in the 6th spot regardless. Mind you, we're in the 5th right now. I think we're a half game up on Milwaukee as
before last night's game we were at 6,
right,
and the win put us back in the 5th spot, which is going to be tricky going down the stretch. There's 5 games left, I believe.
Yeah, and I have. Go ahead, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you with you.
Now, I was just going to take a pause for a second and
Detroit basketball.
that was for clinching the playoffs. We had already clinched the play in, but this was to clinch a playoff spot last night, and they did that, and that was the 43rd win of the season. Foster, I got to go back 14 to 68, 43, and whatever, and you still got an opportunity to increase that 43 games. Foster, I'm delighted right now to see what we're seeing out of this team this season. They're having fun. They're dancing in the tunnels before the games and after games. JB they're giving JB the belt, the wrestling belt after games. It's just good to see. Got a couple comments. Michigan, MSU Detroit fan. I can't believe we can't fall into. I believe we can't fall into the playoff tournament. Also, nope. I think we clinched being in the playoffs. 6. That's what I'm saying. Like last night was a clincher to be 6 or better. If we were at 7, then there was a chance that we had to be into that play-in scenario where 8 has to play 7, and then you have to play the winner of 9 and 10, I believe. Whatever. However it goes, we don't have to do any of that. I think the lowest we can't finish no lower than 6. And MSU Detroit fan says the real question is, can Cade return in time since we're going into the final week? Now, Foster believes, just like I do, that Cade will be back tonight. There's no reason to put Cade in last night. No reason whatsoever. You have a back-to-back, and Cade's recovering from an injury, and you have a depleted Toronto Raptors team that you believe that you can win with your reserves, and that's what they did. That's what they did. I hope Cade gets back so Schroeder can get a rest. He's played a lot of minutes the past.
So what I was gonna say is I have a theory on the Schroeder struggles.
Let's go.
So take a guess at how many minutes he played against OKC. This is a relatively bench. I mean, he's been a starter in the past, but
I want to say about 45.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't even think Cade plays 40 minutes.
No. And the first thing to go when you're tired is your jumper, your legs. He can't hit last night he couldn't hit a 3-point shot for shit.
Let me see how many minutes he played last night. Because 40 is astounding amount of minutes. 36.
MSU Detroit fan says Ivy also. Tobias, I don't know since he aggravated that Achilles injury in that game against OKC. And Ray Floyd, how you doing, sir? Oster's confidence looks to be returning. He had a bad game a couple of games ago, and I was like, I can't remember which game. It might have been Minnesota, but he had a bad game, and I was like, oh, he just not having a good game. But last night, he looked like he looked more comfortable last night. He's so athletic, bro. He's so athletic. He's going to be one of them ones. He's going to be one of them ones. His brother is just his brother is one of them ones now. I think he'll get to that level though. MSU Detroit fan says Beef Stew returning against Memphis. Yeah. And you know what? Memphis is playing some good basketball too after they got rid of their coach. They've been playing lately. No, they lost a few games after they.
Yeah, but they had a game winner. Who was that versus? Damn, I watched it as it was happening.
I think it was against Atlanta. No, it was against the Heat because Hero was going off. It was against the Heat.
Yes, it was. It was
against the Heat.
That was good. That was a good.
That was a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ray Floyd agrees that was against Miami. Yeah. That's got to be Sellis. I believe that's Sellis, man.
It's so wrong.
I don't know. And something tells me, I don't know, man.
No, I don't think that. I don't know.
I remember Sellis had that profile racist.
Spell like the cis. Like
Spell like cis. I don't know, man.
Probably disrespecting a real Ray.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, tonight I think you'll see Cade. You may not see Tobias. If he has an Achilles injury, you may not.
Oh, yeah. You know what? He got hurt. Yeah. You know what? He got hurt. It was actually a legitimate injury that people witnessed. I missed that part of it. But okay. So, yeah, you might not see Tobias.
You may not see him.
People were actually overreacting and talking.
What about Cade?
No. Well, that too, kind of. But Tobias.
I know Cade's fine, though. Foster says Cade is okay because he wears a coat. He could be out there. What is he doing? He's on the sideline. He could be playing. What's wrong with this guy?
Spirits seem too high. I don't know.
Yeah. It's crazy, but I do think if you have, but they keep saying though, we're not done yet. Last night they clinched the number 6 spot, and in the locker room, we're not done. We can still move up. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to settle for the 6. That's what they were saying.
You talking about when we were at 6? We're not done.
No. After last night's game, they clinched the playoff.
Right.
Duran said, "We're not done yet. We're not selling for just making the playoff and at being at 6. They got 5 games left, so I don't know. Me personally, I say if there's a chance of someone being not 100%, you sit them.
Well, yeah, we're gonna be. The one thing about it is you're not just gonna blow out our team unless something ridiculous. We're already 3 men down and then 3 get ejected. We're gonna be competitive regardless. And we got we have some semi-winnable games coming up. But as far as us being able to make any moves, I think
I'm good at 6, bro.
Well, I think, okay, so whether we're at 5 or 6 is going to come down to how these last 2 Milwaukee games fare. That's what's going to make a difference in that. But you're not passing Indiana because they're pretty much winning every. I mean, I think
they're balling.
They've won 3 in a row, and we don't have any head-to-head games. If we had some head-to-head games, then okay, fine. But yeah.
Ray Floyd says, I have to give Gores his credit. He ate Monty's contract and now understand he has to let people do their job. I'm going to tell you something, Ray. I was not a firm believer in Gores, and I didn't think he knew what he was doing. But that was a very bold move to fire Monty after that first year. Very bold.
Well, first thing you got to do, you got to hire a president of basketball operations. Like they just didn't have one, right?
That's why I say he doesn't know what he's doing, because you do that. That's
said,
one thing.
Snap! I missed something.
Yeah. But that was like to give out a contract that big and to say, you know what, this ain't gonna work. I just eat the cost and get somebody else in here. That was bold, and that was a very good move too. I would have never thought he'd do it. But at the end of the season last year, if you watch the shows that we did last year, me and Foster say, hey man, this team is too talented to be losing like this. It's got to be coaching. MSU Detroit fan says Tim Hardaway deserves a lot of credit. He definitely stepped up these past few games and has been that veteran leader in the absence of Cade. Hold that thought. We're going to get a quick break. I'm going to leave this comment up because I'm going to tell you what Foster was saying about Hardaway in the very beginning. And if you're watching, give us about 10 seconds. If you're listening, you're going to hear some wonderful ads, but we'll be right back. Tim Hardaway Jr. Foster had some reservations about this guy early in the season. I question, why is he starting? In the preseason, I remember Foster saying at one time, man, he's just not it. He said said it in a different way, but I'm not going to say it, but
Thanks.
Foster said he wasn't it. I also didn't think so either. I agreed. He stepped up this week. And I was only thinking, like, all we need him is to, get about 16, 17 a game consistently. This week he's averaged 25 points a game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it literally, if you go from Friday to Friday, he's had 32, 20, 23, and 23.
Yeah, that's about 25 a game. Yeah. So big difference when he's and you know what I noticed he's doing? He's not just settling for the jumper.
He's getting to the cup.
He's getting to the cup. And that shot is there. And you seen Beasley do that late last night.
He had a dunk last night. I said, here we go again.
Yeah. Yeah. MSU Detroit fan says Beasley also, but Tim has been the main guy, it seems, especially since he just passed Chauncey Billups for the most made threes. That's amazing. Ray Floyd says, honestly, at the beginning of the season, I wasn't a fan of any other signings, Hardaway, Tobias, or Beasley, and I have been proven wrong about everything, including our record. I'm going to tell you something. I was not enthused about anything. I think Foster, when we got Beasley, Foster was very happy about it. And I'm like, it's just Beasley. No, I mean, he's okay. Hardaway, I was like, Tobias. Now, I was okay with Tobias. I figured when Tobias got here, he would be probably the second or third best option offensively on the team. So I was okay with Tobias. Hardaway Jr., I'm thinking, okay, it is what it is.
I think your reservations with Tobias was the fact that he was playing the 4.
I had a problem with him playing the 4.
Yeah.
He proved me wrong.
Something about being somewhere that you want to be, because I gotta believe that Tobias, I don't know if it was the pressure of the Philadelphia's expectations or the Philly fans or having to live up to the expectations of his contract, but he has been, because it's not like he's surrounded by better players now and has less of a role. He was playing with Embiid and Maxey last year.
And I think what surprised me more about Tobias is the way he's defending at the 4. He's been playing some pretty good defense. And he can get you 2 when you need it. He can get you a bucket. I mean, he's still showing he can still score the ball. So out of those 3 signings, I think I was probably the most satisfied with Tobias. I was iffy about Hardaway, and I wasn't too keen on Beasley. I knew he was starting a lot for Milwaukee last year because Dame was hurt or whatever. But I wasn't too keen. I know Foster was happy about Beasley. I was like, okay. But he's been a pleasant surprise. Like, he's doing everything. He's doing everything.
Well, he's the constant that we needed. We needed a guy that was going to be durable, and it was going to, like, you look at his track record, he's had pretty much the same stats for the last 5-6 years. Like when you have a guy that's that consistent and knows how to play his role, I mean, it was, you know, he was bound to reap, you know, to pay some type of dividends to the team.
He's also bringing an enthusiasm, like the whole shimmy thing.
Oh, you talking about Beasley?
Yeah, Beasley. The whole shimmy thing. Like they play shimmy y'all whenever he makes a bucket in at Little Caesars. Like he's brought an attitude to the team, and he's that vet. We didn't have any veteran leadership last year. It was like, you know, and then you bring him in, and you bring in Hardaway and a Harris. Those are three people we didn't even talk about as far as veteran leadership. Like we can sit up there and say, oh, they're not good players, but what we lacked last year was veteran leadership.
And I remember it started at Summer League, where immediately Beasley comes in and takes even the young guy, like the rookies and sophomore players under his wing, and it hasn't stopped since that point.
Yeah, and if you're looking forward, like going forward, this is a relatively young team at the core. Duran, Cade, Ivy, Oscar Thompson. You know what I'm saying? Holland. Stewart is young.
I was going to say Stu's still only like, what, 23?
23, 24. This is a young team. So, you know, you may not have a Tobias around next couple of years. You might not have Hardaway Jr. around a couple of years, but if you wanted to, you could keep Duran, Cade, Oscar Thompson, Holland, Isaiah Stewart.
I think Sasser is older than half those dudes.
I mean, and you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, I think we're okay going forward personnel wise. I think you need to pick up a player here and there, but the young core is intact. What is your outlook for the rest of the season? We got 5 games left, Foster. Two of them against Milwaukee. One tonight versus Memphis. I don't know the other 2 games.
So, and keep in mind, 4 out of the last 5 games are at home for what they're worth. If you're a Detroit fan and you still want some semi-affordable games before the playoffs start, because those are looking steep already.
Mm-hmm.
4 out of the last 5 are in LCA, starting with the Grizzlies tonight. We play the Kings in Detroit. We play New York in Detroit, and then the last home game of the year is against Milwaukee. Now I can't remember if the last game of the year is in Milwaukee or if it's in Detroit, but yeah, 4 out of the last 5 games are at home, which is a nice little treat for the fans. I mean, like I said, we don't really have much to play for. The only interesting thing I see left, well, I guess we could still fall to the 6th spot, especially with the last 2 games in Milwaukee. But the Indiana still has an outside shot of passing New York. New York has a kind of a rocky schedule, and Brunson's not back yet. So Indiana, which could be interesting. You said what?
I thought Brunson was back. They just interviewed him.
He didn't play in the last game.
No, he was nearing back because they interviewed him.
Yeah, he's getting close.
Okay. Yeah,
Brunson.
I think they're just holding on until until they possibly. I think they're almost locked in that 3 spot.
So they're only I know there's only 2 games, like the 2 wins separating them, but you know how sometimes there's more to it. But hold on. So first and foremost, let's talk about the last couple of games the Knicks have. They have the Hawks, which is always a tough game. This is in Atlanta, and Trae Young has been a thorn in their side since he got there. They got the Phoenix Suns coming up tomorrow, so they got a back-to-back against the Hawks and the Suns.
You never know what you get with the Suns.
Right. Then they have the Celtics. You might as well. In the Celtics, I think they destroyed them in New York the last time they played. Then they have the Pistons, and then they have the Cavs, and then they close the year against Brooklyn.
You're going to have to bring him back for these remaining games.
Somewhere within that mix. And then let's look at the standings. You can read that comment if you want to. I didn't get a chance to.
MSU Detroit fan says, I don't want to call Bay a bust because he was good. He was just traded away in a stupid trade. Wasn't a fan of James Wiseman, especially when we drafted Duren a few months later.
I see the vision, but
it just didn't work out.
Yeah. And then Sadiq ended up being an injury-prone guy. I think he's torn his ACL twice now, or his Achilles, or he didn't play at all this year.
Yeah. He's been injury riddled, and I'm talking serious injury riddled. So I hated to see him go. I hated to see him traded away, but it is what it is.
So the Pacers are 2.5 games behind New York right now.
Yeah. And how many games left did the Knicks have?
I think they had 6.
Yeah. And the Pacers have how many games left? Like 7?
I don't know. Let's see.
Just find out the record. And I can
do the quick math on that.
Yeah.
So the Pacers have the Nuggets, Wizards, Cavs, Magic, and Cavs. Oh, they got a tough. And the Wizards have been beating some teams. Who they just beat the Kings. The Kings are trash. But
yeah, they got the Cavs twice, right?
Yes, they have on Thursday.
Cavs and Nuggets, right?
The 10th and then the 13th. They have the Cavs.
Did you say Nuggets as well?
That's tomorrow. Yep.
Those are 3 really tough games.
Magic is not going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah, especially since they're healthy.
They are relatively healthy. Yeah.
What are the world renowned Chicago Bulls doing nowadays? They can beat anybody according to our Central Division affiliates.
Seems like everybody has the Wizards on their last set of games. They have the Hornets. They got a couple cupcakes. They got the Hornets, who LaMelo is already out for the year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Miller's out for the year.
Mm-hmm.
They're tanking up. Then they have the Cavs on Tuesday. So of course that's
we're gonna. I'm waiting for that.
Circle that on the calendar. They have the Heat, the Wizards, and then the 76ers. That's another cupcake game.
They have really, really let the wheels fall off. Sixers.
Man, I wouldn't have put any type of money they'd be having the season they'd be having.
I know Dre Dennis is sick.
Man, yeah, he got them season tickets, man.
Yeah, for sure. MSU Detroit fan said, "I have a feeling the NBA is trying to do a Detroit Indiana series."
That would be that would be a good look.
The only reason I don't know about that is because I'm gonna be honest. When the Knicks are in the playoffs for the Eastern Conference, the NBA is a lot better rating wise.
Yeah, and they'll be in the playoffs,
and they're with the Pistons facing the Knicks. That's going to sell tickets. Anybody playing the Knicks in the first round is going to sell tickets.
Indiana's got that. It has the history.
It has the history.
They got the history as recent of this year, but they have a history that dates back to Reggie Miller and Tayshaun Prince and the Malice in the Palace. Like,
yeah,
way better season.
MSU Detroit fan says Tobias Harris is having a better season than Paul George. Yes, who would have thunk it, right? Ray Floyd thinks like I do. He says, I prefer to play the Knicks. They are a bigger name. Not only are they a bigger name, we've had a better success during the season versus the Knicks. And we look good. I think we match up a lot better versus the Knicks than we do the Pacers. Right now, I'm just enjoying the moment.
Being able to weigh our options and even discuss things like this, because last year it was like,
we were hoping we get the number one pick around this time last year.
Right. We were talking about, what's the guy that scored 50, the little guy? Dang, what is his name? Malachi Flynn. It's like, is Malachi Flynn going to start? Is he going to be around next year?
Man, that's crazy. And then he had like a couple of games. I think he had 50 in one game, Malachi Flynn.
Yeah.
And we just,
and now he's not even in the league.
He's not even in the league. And that's what we had playing for us. It's crazy. Mr. Detroit fan says, Tobias thinking, Paul George over me? I mean, I thought it was an upgrade for them. I thought, getting Paul George, I said, that's going to be really, really good in Philly. They got
some guys just aren't winners, man.
Well, on paper is one thing. What happens on the court is another. And that's one of those cases. Like, it looks good. Phoenix looked good on paper. You know what I'm saying? When they got Beal, they been worse ever since. I mean, and I'm sure it's nothing. And it has pretty much nothing to do with Beal. It just, fit is everything.
Fit.
Chemistry is everything. Playing style is everything. Coaching is everything. Some of the best coaches have made the best of what they had and didn't have the luxury of bringing in an all-star to their roster with all-stars already on it. And I'm referring to Phoenix. You got Durant, and you have Booker, and you bring in Beal. You're thinking at the time, oh, this is beautiful for them. You know what I'm saying? But the better coaches take what they have and make it work. They get the players to buy into the system, and they utilize the players that they have strengths. That's what the best coaches do. So I think one of those things is, that's what JB's doing. He's taking what his team, didn't go crazy, didn't make crazy trades at the trade deadline or anything like that, and just took what he had and made it work. Got the Pistons to buy into a system of playing some defense and being tough. You know what I'm saying? MSU Detroit fan says, should the Pistons be looking into bringing in Devin Booker this offseason? Okay. You're not going to like my answer.
I missed the question. What did he say?
I'm going to put it back up there and I'm going to say it. Should the Pistons still look into bringing Devin Booker this offseason? You're not going to like my answer.
He may.
Okay. Devin Booker is a very, very good talent, right? If you bring in Devin Booker, he has to be your shooting guard. He has to be able to accept a role where he's not ball dominant, because we have that here already. I don't want to change that up and take the ball out of Cade's hands unless you have someone that's like ultimately deserving to take over that duty. It would be tough. I mean,
so you're willing to break up the team to make this happen then?
No.
Well, you said if he plays the two, you for it.
Let's say, for instance, you said break up the team, right?
Well, yeah, the break up the team part, yeah. But you're gonna shake some things up.
I'm getting to that. If you don't have to trade the core for him, if you don't have to sacrifice the core for him, by all means, bring him in. But if you're going to sacrifice Tim Hardaway Jr., I probably won't be too mad about
Oh,
that.
well, no, that's not going to happen because he's a free agent. So
I wouldn't be too mad at it. But he's not one of those. The position of need is the 4, in my opinion.
yeah,
Bringing in Devin Booker, that would be great, but that's not at the priority list as far as my opinion is. We need that 4.
what if they say we want a SAR?
No.
What if they say Ron Holland? I knew the answer to the SAR one. I knew you could answer that with full confidence, but
I mean, Phoenix is a lot closer to Texas than Michigan. From
just to sell him on it.
Ron Holland, he from Dallas. I mean, that might help him, you know. Now, I want to see what Ron Holland does in the offseason. Because the one thing he's missing is it's not confidence. It's not physical ability. It's that outside shot. If he can develop it, because what happens now, he tries to put the ball on the floor in traffic too many times, and he messes it up. Either he turns the ball over or makes a bad pass, but if he can develop a jump shot, a consistent jump shot, he could be trouble. MSU Detroit fan says Steve Eiserman hasn't made a big name trade in a bit, but Stevie is kind of the worst GM of the 4 guys right now. Don't get me started on Stevie Y.
Wings trying to make their own little run.
Yeah,
they won a good game yesterday. They still swinging out there.
MSU Detroit fan says Trajan Langdon and Brad Holmes are tied for the best GM in Detroit. Scott Harris is 3rd, and Stevie Y is 4th. Let me stop you there. Hold on. Hold on, MSU Detroit fan. Let's slow down a little bit now. Trajan has a little bit more to achieve to be ranked with Brad Holmes.
The only reason why it's semi-valid is because of the way he turned the team around in his first year.
Absolutely. But I think it is one of those things where it's to be continued as far as Trajan. We haven't seen him pull the trigger on anything roster-wise yet.
But that makes it even more impressive.
But we've seen what Brad has done with the drafts and the draft picks over a period of time.
Yeah, he's got longevity for sure.
It's kind of like you still got some work to do to be ranked up there with Brad, because Brad has done it in a couple of years. I'm gonna give you an example. Joe Dumars' first year as GM, he traded Grant Hill and got a few pieces back. And it was like, look at this team, right? That team that played that following year at Grant Hill was horrible. I think they even brought Sid Zabalos here at one point.
Oh, you said Cedric Zabalos?
Yeah, I think he was here for a year. And then the following year, you got Ben Wallace and a couple other people. He made some significant moves. And then there was the Darko Milicic. Then, so he's had, you have to wait and see, because Joe fizzled after a minute.
He made that Iverson for Billups deal.
Yeah. MSU Detroit fan says, Harris, as much as I don't like Al Avila, unfortunately, most of these young guys are his draft picks, and Jack Flaherty and Matt Frierling are 2 big Harris gets that are big for the Tigers. Foster covers the Detroit Tigers. What do you have to say about that, Foster?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fortunate that those young players. It forces you to give him credit when you really don't want to. But yeah, um, Flaherty. Yeah, Flaherty was a good deal. He also signed Mike Lorenzen and was able to flip that into some prospects as well. And don't sleep on Justin Henry Malloy. I think he was that acquisition was around the same time as Vierling. So Scotty boy, Scott Harris, we have the number one farm system in the entire major leagues right now. And that you can only attest to Scott Harris, because the guys that Avila has signed are now in the major league, so they don't factor into our farm system.
Yeah. Don't get Foster started on this Tigers, man. What time the Tigers play today?
They play at 1. I think it's done raining, so I think that I'm assuming that the field was covered all last night. So although it rained all this morning, I think that we're in the clear for the game today.
Detroit is going to be lit today. You got Tigers baseball at 1. You got the Pistons playing in Detroit at 7. It's going to be lit today downtown. But then you got all these so-called rallies and stuff that's happening today.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah. I'm not going to be around any of that.
Right.
So it is what it is. MSU Detroit fan says Reese Olson on the mound today versus the White Sox. MSU Detroit fan pays really good attention to the Tigers, man. You know, Foster, what's up with Reese Olson? How's he, man? I don't know anything about him.
He had a pretty good first outing. The one thing that's plagued it plagued us in the first series against LA is the home run ball. Even Scooble fell victim to that. So I think this is his second. I think this is only his second start. And he should be able to build some confidence back. Not that his confidence fell, but playing the White Sox will have you feeling good about yourself. So I expect for him to bounce back today. I think I don't think he pitched against Seattle. I think he just pitched against LA. But yeah, he should have a pretty decent outing.
Yeah. Because of y'all, I started paying attention to the Tigers, man. I'm back. I'm buying in. The record doesn't reflect how good I think this team actually is. You start off on the road versus the best team in the league with an all-star lineup. And, you know, you were in those games. The Tigers were in those games, the first 2 games, deep into I think one was played in extra innings and the other one was, you know, deep into the 8th and 9th where you had a chance. And then you go take 2 out of 3 from the Mariners and you come back home for opening day and you win opening day. I think, you know, baseball is one of those sports where you have series. You have 3 or 4 games series, and the name of the game is win majority of those series. Take 2 out of 3, take 3 out of 4 if you can. You know what I mean? You do that, and that's a recipe for success in the major leagues. You do have to go on a couple win streaks here and there, but you win the series when you go play a team. That's the goal. You know, you're not going to be able to sweep everybody, but win the series. MSU.
We gotta sweep the White Sox.
You gotta sweep the Sox though. MSU Detroit fan says, I'm just gonna stay near Comerica Park and LCA. Don't want anything to do with that other stuff. It's not my thing. Me either, man. Me either. Yes, MSU Detroit fan says $700 million Dodgers. Man, that's an empty check that they're writing out there and for them players out there. They got the best lineup because they opened up that wallet and they're paying, and it's paying off dividends. MSU Detroit fan also says Chris Ilitch can't be the owners of Tigers baseball. If baseball is coming, who can buy the best team? I think it's been like that for a minute, though. I think it's like the Yankees have done it over the years where they've paid for the best. They've got the best acquisition. It seems like the best free agents are going to the Yankees, Dodgers, maybe
Mets.
the Red Sox, maybe the Mets. You know, they're going to these big market franchises, and I don't think that trend is going to stop. Don't think that trend is going to stop. Foster, we got a ball game tonight, though, versus Memphis. How do you see that playing out?
That's another team that's kind of, I think, would fall into the physical, young team. So, Gore said that he was up into security, in lieu of all the happening. So it should be interesting. I really hope that Cade plays tonight, because the one thing that has been frustrating to me is that I've been looking for games to kind of measure where the team is at, and it's been difficult to do that because of the fact that we have been shorthanded, such as the OKC game, Minnesota game. Those are two, playoff teams. So if we are in any way close to full strength, though, Memphis is a team that for a lot of the year was atop, the Western Conference. And, I do think it's an opportunity for us to kind of build our morale and our confidence, because they're a potential, they're a team that has the potential to be around when in the Western Conference Finals. I think they're only, what was that, 2 years ago that they were in the Western Conference Finals? Because I know Ja was hurt the last 2 years, and he was suspended or whatever the case may be. But at any rate, they're a team that has the potential to be in the Western Conference Finals. So I think that getting a win in front of the home crowd would do a lot for their morale and confidence. So I hope that we're in some way in full strength. At least Cade playing tonight. We know that Stewart's going to be back. We know that Tobias injured himself, so they're going to be they're going to take precautions on him. But I think we play a good game regardless.
Yeah. That's been our MO. We've been playing the effort. The effort's been there. It's just some mistakes. Just some mistakes. Last night I seen so many turnovers. Schroeder they was taking his cookies last night. Like back to back possessions. Just careless with the ball. MSU Detroit fan said, I need to see what Cade is doing tonight. Tonight I need to see what Cade is doing. Me too. I think Cade plays tonight. Not sure about Tobias Harris, but you can win. You can win without Tobias. Your chances of winning definitely increase with Cade playing. The way the reserves are playing with Stewart coming back, it's hard to win without Stewart and Tobias. Put it like that.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of, you get a lot more of Paul Reed than you might want to see. And we've kind of exercised. We kind of exercised our bench and really giving them an opportunity, which is okay. We've gotten to see Lindy Waters play, but you want to see those guys for the limited minutes, the garbage minutes. Foul trouble.
They shouldn't be in there in the second quarter.
You don't want to see him. You don't want to see them play up against Edwards and SGA. That's not who you want to see in those situations.
Man, last night Reed shot a 3-pointer. That jumper is so
I saw that 3-pointer, the one that hit the backboard.
It hit the backboard, and it was like, I should have, by the form, that's what it looked like. It should have hit the backboard, the side.
But he's usually pretty accurate with that.
He's butter from outside, but that shot is ugly. That shot is ugly. Well, Foster, that about do it for today's show. It seemed like the hour went by fast. I don't even know if I got to what I was trying to get to, but we're at the end of the show. If you want to put a bow on this, you can go ahead and do so. You can wrap this up. We can get out of here.
Yeah, I would say just pay attention to the possibility of the Indiana passing New York, because that puts us in a comfortable situation where, we're gunning for New York, but but if we continue to be above Milwaukee and sit in that 5 spot, we can still possibly catch New York at the 4 spot if Indiana, because Indiana seems to have all the momentum in the world, and New York seems to be very rocky. They got some tough games coming up. Brunson is going to be back soon, but we don't know to what extent they're going to be playing him. We know how Tibbs is. Tibbs, he wants to be able to run you into the ground. I would hope for their sake that he wouldn't consider that with how important Brunson is. But yeah, some solid, some pretty a lot of tests coming up for the Pistons outside of that Kings game, who you can't just sleep on the Kings, because the Kings have some very good players, but Grizzlies, New York, which is a direct direct correlation for the Eastern Conference battle that we got going. And then we're closing the year, and we knew this we knew this back when there was 20 games left, that the 2 games against Milwaukee to end the year could very well have a impact on where we fall in the conference, and that will hold true.
Well, the Knicks are a storied program. They storied franchise.
Yeah.
And like I said, the NBA does better numbers when the Knicks are good. You can check it out as far as the ratings. They're waiting for a championship over there. I would love to be one of those teams that put them out the playoffs, even though the Knicks are probably one of the more likable teams in the Eastern Conference for me. I've always liked the Knicks. So it's not like a bitter rivalry there. But the Knicks would be, my matchup-wise, my ideal matchup for the first round. And just think, if the Pistons could the Pistons can go into the playoff and win a first round after last year's season, that would be remarkable. Remarkable. And you have to give JB Coach of the Year. Damn what you're talking about, Cleveland. You had a good team when that coach got there. The coach that we have built your team. Yeah, I said it.
And we got to see how the Cleveland finishes, because I think that if they go on a little bit of a, if they stumble into the playoffs and the Pistons, triple their win output from last year, and they hit the ground running going into the playoffs. I mean, Cleveland had a good team last year.
Yeah.
I won't say great team.
They had a good team last year, though. They had a very good team last year. They had all-stars at 2-3 positions. We didn't have any all-stars last year.
Not a one.
So I ain't trying to hear it. Anyway, I want to remind everybody, subscribe to Bleachers and Speakers on YouTube. Make sure you're following us on all the aggregators. I forgot to throw the sign up. There you go. Subscribe to Bleachers and Speakers on YouTube. We are nearing the 250 mark as far as followers. Something is up with, I think we've been shadow banned on YouTube. Like, we not getting any views on there, but the downloads from the audio are booming. I don't get it.
YouTube is funny like that.
Yeah. Oh well. Subscribe to Bleachers Speakers on YouTube. We'll be back. We got to get a Lions show in outside of the NFC North show. We do have to do an update. So we'll be back. And next week you'll see on the YouTube channel more featured player profiles. The draft is coming up. So we're going to be talking a lot about potential draft picks. I'll be doing the old school feature profiles. I'll be doing Pistons and Lions. So if you have a suggestion for an old school Piston player for me to do a profile on, just let us know in the chat, in the comments or whatever. Go check out those profiles as well. So until next time, subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube.